We'll get this operations committee meeting on October 12th underway. We're here at Bluffton High School. Myself and Tricia Fidrich are present from the committee. We're also joined by David Stribinger from the board. And at this point, we'll just start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so it's me at the moment. We need a motion to approve the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 2-0, Robin.
Join the meeting.
All right. Do we have any public comments, Ms. Cushenberry?
No, ma'am. Hold on a second. Get you know.
Yeah.
No public comments.
And we have a backlog of committee meeting minutes, but I think we can just make a motion to approve all of them at one time. I don't think we need individual motions. I'd be willing to make that, or
Yeah. I was not here for July 28th.
okay. So everyone but July 20. Okay.
Yeah. I move to accept the committee meeting minutes for all the meetings except for July 28th.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So you might need to bring that one back up when you have.
Yeah, because it's just me.
I'm just going to say,
So the motion to accept the minutes would fail.
it would fail.
I can't carry this alone. All right, so we'll just leave the 28th off for next meeting, Robin.
Okay.
Or if Mel is here a little bit later.
Okay.
And have we heard from, have you had a chance to reach out to Mel?
No, Molly's working on it.
Okay. All right, well,
Sure. Did you, actually, now that I'm looking at this agenda, did you want to amend the question? The order?
we could.
I said did the construction first, just in case we went long. Rob could go with the clock members because they're doing the turn 2 at 5:30.
Brilliant.
So that's the reason why it's
that
in
makes
the
sense.
Well, I think that Mel would probably prefer to be here for the second part.
Got
all
it.
things considered. Yeah.
Good planning, Mr. Odding.
All right.
Sometimes
Engineer the meeting. So why don't we go ahead and start with the construction update?
I'm an engineer too. Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to provide the October executive summary updates with data through the end of September. I would like to start by pointing out that this month's report has been expanded. You can see the size of it this month. It now includes the new FY 2024 8% capital improvement project updates. Long lead times and inflationary cost increases continue to be encountered. Project managers continue to do a good job of resolving concerns as they arise. Included in this month's updates are 7 yellow traffic lights that appear. A couple of them are ongoing items reported on before. Battery Creek High School, slides 5 through 7. Those are concerns related to ongoing material delivery challenges. At Robert Smalls International Academy, slides 8 and 10. The yellow traffic light there is primarily due to that long ship lead time associated with the electrical switchgear, which has the April 13th ship date currently. The slide 11, that's the maintenance building warehouse project that's coming out of the FY 2023 8% capital improvement project list. The price for that's come in above the budget, and what we want to do is postpone that. Let's wait until we get into the first quarter of next year so we can evaluate how much contingency we have so that we can then look to move that forward. At Hvac Island, slide 19, that continues to remain on hold. Once again, that was because the county decided to postpone their paving project out there on the island as well. For slide 29 at A.G. McCracken Middle School, We did get a delay for the remaining PA and security devices, and that's caused a small delay in the switchover of the new systems from September to October. The adult ed slide 38, we are having a yellow light on that. That project is currently being placed on hold. This will allow the district additional time to further evaluate the scope and schedule for that project. And the last one is slide 43 for Mossy Elementary. The Thompson Turner Construction GMP Amendment 28 does require additional funding to proceed with the remaining safety, security, and technology infrastructure scope on that campus. And as a reminder, this amendment is scheduled to be presented and discussed at the October 18th board meeting next week. And before moving on, I am going to bring attention to the details inside of the report on slides 19 and slide 38 due to the overall size of the report and the fact that it's going to, those two projects, the Hvac Island and the adult ed, are going to be on hold for a little while. We're just going to remove them from future monthly reports until we have something to report, if that's acceptable.
And Hvac Island, that was an 8% project,
Yes.
right? And then didn't we approve Mossy Oaks at the last executive committee?
What was the question?
I thought we approved the GMP on Mossy Oaks.
No, ma'am.
Safety and security.
It would not have been Mossy Oaks.
I think it may have been, hang on, I got something with me that I think I can tell you. If we look at the change order log, I think we brought something in that required a little bit of use of the contingency in the month of September.
We may have had it on the list and took it.
It was Will Branch Early College High School, I think, that came in. That was the CPPI amendment number 3.
Yeah, I think maybe we had on, took it off because you were still working.
Yeah, because we did not bring anything forward at the last meeting.
Right.
So,
Sorry for interruption.
Okay. Moving along with my update, I did provide some information in case Mr. Smith was here related to the St. Helena Elementary School gymnasium. Just to remind everybody that at the September 20th board meeting, the board did approve the Hvac amendment number 29 for the gym entry canopy. And I also wanted to speak briefly about those exterior concerns that Mr. Smith brought up. We are using a 2-step process to move forward with that, and those to address those concerns. First step is get a proposal in from the contractor to.
this is the lettering.
Right.
That's, okay.
Yeah, but the exterior facade concerns, we want to start with a step 1 that will be pressure washing to see what it results in, and then we can evaluate what step 2 is and bring forward what recommendations we'll have at that.
Yeah, that's great. I think we're gonna be able to determine much better once it's, all that is cleaned off, and we'll see what it really looks like.
And just a clarification on the language back to Mossy Oaks. When you say amendment requires additional funding, is that already included in the mid-program reset 2.0, or is it more than what was included in
It was more than what was included in the mid-program reset, but
2.0?
we'll go into the details because I've been able to find unforecasted savings
Okay.
that will cover that overage.
Okay. I'll be interested in where the unforecasted savings coming from.
We're getting
From primarily from return savings from work that was part of our initial summer 2020 scopes. The return savings are coming back from HG Rentals projects at Beaufort Middle, and then Thompson Turner Construction has returning savings from like 4 or 5 other projects.
Okay.
Moving on to the project closeout updates for FY 2019, 8% projects. We're down to only having 3. Last month we reported 4. For FY 2020, there's 5 projects that remain. And for the referendum projects, those are slides 85 through 86 in the report. Information's been provided for 24 of the referendum projects, 15 of which have been closed out to date. We do now have 8 yellow traffic lights that are in that section that are appearing this month. And the reason for that, those projects did not get closed out prior to the end of our target closeout period of Q3 of this year. Q3 ended in September, so technically we're now in Q4. We believe that the focus of attention is on those projects, and we should be reporting those to be closed this week. For your referendum financial update, expenditures now through September 30th, 2022 total $166,228,232. When you take those expenditures to date and add to it the $154 million of additional contractual commitments that have been made to date, this equates to roughly 85% of the total referendum program. And that the remaining available referendum funds as of the end of last month total just over $55.5 million. And the last item to point out is under community outreach, slide 86. We are planning a topping out ceremony for the Robert Smalls International Academy project. And once again, for a topping out, that's once all the steel's been erected, and once that is occurring, we're timing and coordinating ceremony to take place. That's going to happen in the month of November. And just as soon as we have more details to share, that information will be distributed. So that concludes my executive summary update for the month.
Ms. Fidrich, you have questions?
No, I was going to follow up on St. Helena, and you addressed that prior to asking that, and you addressed the closeouts. You know, I noticed, you know, how many yellow lights there were, so you addressed that. Those were my two big things in reviewing this.
And I do have that detailed list that you asked about, which projects had the savings that came back.
Mm-hmm.
Beaufort Middle School, Closeout Elementary, Right Choices, Broad River Elementary School, Ladies Island Middle School, and Beaufort High School.
I do think that I want to see that just as we get so close, because I think it's great that we're taking it from projects that are done. What I'm concerned is we start shifting money out of projects that are on the horizon. So,
No.
right. I know.
Yeah, what we want to do is make sure that we can get the remaining scopes under contract first, and then we'll evaluate, does it need additional or is it under, and what savings are there. And when we feel comfortable that we can recommend to move it into program contingency, we will do so. And when you look at the contingency log, we do have it split so that we're tracking off of the original program contingency, and then the bottom section is those additional bond premiums that the board approved this summer that total $31.1 million.
And I think it's just, as we get so tight at the end, being really transparent about how the funds are shifting, whether not because I doubt what you're doing, but because I think the public wants, it's just, I think it's a good idea.
Right, because you said 85%, 18%. Yeah. So how many projects, Rob, are there that you said you want to make sure you get the scope under contract? How many are left that we don't have that for?
Good question.
Okay.
If you look at the 519 report this month, you'll see some shading now.
Okay.
And if you happen to
Blue shading?
Yep. There's rows that are highlighted in blue. Of course, my paper's sticking together. So in the report, you'll see the blue lines, and on the last sheet at the back, there's a little key plan right here along with Lou's. And the blue shading is there's financial commitments that remain. Now, they may be as small as we still need to order the district furnished IT switches, wireless access points, UPS. It could be that we still need to put safety security scope. But any of those lines that we still foresee additional financial commitments remaining have been highlighted in the report.
So, I have a couple questions. One, so now as I understand it, we have the referendum funding, we have the 8% funding, and now we're doing ESSER funding. Are we tracking those all together, or are they all on separate 519s?
It's actually under the 8% capital improvement monthly reports. There's a separate tab,
When you say 519 report, that is only referendum.
Okay,
right? And
So-
the referendum includes that extra 31.1 of bond premiums.
right.
But there's a separate report for the 8%
I know, right.
each year. And if you look to the far right, there's a tab that's solely for commitments on ESSER funds.
Yeah, they're actually all handled separately.
Yeah, we don't do this to it because we need to be able to track school level.
But or this group's overseeing all of them, you're
Yes.
saying, okay. So one question I have on the ESSER funding, is, wait, I need to get back to it. The HVAC is for ESSER funding. So I was trying to figure out, because I know Beaufort High had some big HVAC project we just completed. So is this another HVAC project for Beaufort High, or is this, okay,
And we still have one more to go.
What you recently saw was the contractual commitment of ESSER to address the remaining HVAC improvements on the second floor. And what we've got is the plans to exhaust whatever ESSER funds that will remain addressing what still remains on the first floor of Beaufort High.
and then how do we pick which, because there's one, I didn't bring my glasses, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Adrian?
The ESSER HVAC project, which is page 80. So it looks like there are 4, and I know this is coming to the full board, but since you're presenting here, did we use the facility condition assessment to determine which 4 got it?
No, because the ESSER projects were done prior to even starting. I mean, we had to submit a report to the state a long time ago for our ESSER project. So those were all pre-facility condition assessment.
So am I correct in saying that there are 4 ESSER funded HVAC projects? There's not like another list somewhere that's coming.
As of right now, yes.
So one's the district office, one's Hilton Head Island Early Childhood, and then 2 at Beaufort High?
Like I said, the second floor is under contract. We believe that the needs exist at the first floor.
Actually, and you could even say, didn't we use, request that we use ESSER funds for one of the branch projects?
I didn't bring the ESSER report with me.
So I'll check. I think there is an additional project, which is a well branch, which the board asked us to use ESSER. Or was it? No.
What I remember was that they wanted to use the ESSER funds on the second floor, and the second floor was originally part of the 8%, so a little back checking to make sure that that was appropriate use.
But we will check and make sure with our ESSER reports that those are the only ones.
If you'd like me to include the ESSER report next month.
I think we need to figure out, because I'm starting to feel lost. And I know you guys are on top of it, but there's like the referendum and there's the 8% and then there's ESSER. And I'm like, wait, I saw that, it'd be nice to kind of figure out how to keep them and something on the financial, like the 5.
No, there's
And I know
a
that
report.
8%.
There's a report, and I
There's a
will
report for
add to
ESSER
it
too.
that at the board meeting next Tuesday,
Yeah,
we are bringing in amendments for the district-wide bottle filler projects that are
Right.
funded from ESSER, as well as the district-wide bipolar ionization project. So those proposals have been received, they're in budget, and we're bringing them forward for you.
yeah, and I don't know, I mean, I don't want to get into all the details of the board meeting, but like the bipolar ionization district-wide, there's 6 schools listed here. Are there more coming? That's what I'm kind of just confused on. Or did you just pick these 6 to get bipolar
I
ionization?
think what we can do is maybe expand that. That was the original list that we've been working off of. The one that you'll see next week on Tuesday, it's for a lot more projects than are listed here.
Okay, all right, that's what I was kind of.
I'll make a note here that it needs to be expanded next time.
Perfect.
But the backup that you'll receive that amendment clearly lists each one of the schools that's get.
Yeah, I just, when I was
I think
looking at
there's
this, I was starting to feel a little lost.
I think it's over 20.
Okay,
Because I know that for the bottle fillers, I think the location counts 32.
I have a guess on which 3 are not included. So the other thing, one other area I have a question on is May River High School. I mean, we have $7.5 million that is appropriated for athletics, which is just tennis courts or something, right? So, and then we only have $518,000. It doesn't have any money appropriated for technology. And then there's a $500,000 adjustment. And then there's a $790,000 for a CAPE expansion. Like those numbers don't make sense to me.
So again, with technology, the newer schools being May River and River Ridge did not have any, they were brand new, you know, for the most part, when we built the referendum list, so they were not included with technology.
But there is a 518,000 adjusted for it.
I'd have to.
There is an adjustment that we showed with mid-program reset version 2.0 from A River. And you are correct. The original funding for athletics in particular, when evaluating what scope, and it's a little more scope than what you're calling,
No, I didn't. Yeah.
there's excess funds there. So that's part of the mid-program reset. That's one of the ones that we identified that could release some of those dollars to address other concerns. Same thing for the Kate expansion project. Those dollars that were originally appropriated would never build it, but it was treated as an advanced design. And in looking at the size and rough cost of that, we calculated what the advanced design fees would be to make it shovel ready, so that when we have our next referendum approved by the citizens, that we can move that project into construction.
So are we working on the design for Kate expansion of May River?
We actually, they've talked to the architect.
Yeah, I think it's scheduled to start in the next 30 to 45 days, I think. But some preliminary conversations have commenced.
I wasn't on the board when the referendum happened. Do we actually know what Kate we're putting in there? I thought that was still up for debate.
Well, Karen Gilbert does have a plan, but that is part of the conversation, is what's going on with Karen Gilbert and their team from ISD.
Because they still have a lot left to do.
Right, but the project manager for that job, I've had conversations going back before the summer to try to nudge that information along so that it's not going to slow us down when we're ready to commence. They're planning those programs, that input can be put into the design.
So that the programs are identified already?
Oh, I don't know if they're finalized, but she's working it.
There is one that we've kind of built it on as far as some preliminary, but we do recognize there's still conversations between the board and Karen Gilbert on what those actually are. So there's flexibility in that. For the most part, it's a building the same size as the existing building. How you rearrange that, there's been several conversations of what goes where, and we can adjust that as we go. There's also conversations of the junior ROTC being a wing as part of that. So it's a building, pretty much a carbon copy of what's already there, plus JROTC.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine, we're going to put an auto shop and you design that, we're going to put in a bakery.
What you basically have, just like in the existing building, is two high bay spaces. So two high bay spaces can accommodate if you want to do auto, if you wanted to do, we've done welding in high bay. Yeah, right now it's auto and welding. The thought is to copy that and do an additional classes for that. But if you want to do aerospace, if you want to do construction, any of those would require high bay. And then there's two small bay areas, which, have been any of your nursing sciences, if you did a bakery, those could all be in the low ceiling area. So really, that's what you're getting is too high ceiling, too low ceiling, and then it's decide what's the best fit for those spaces.
How far along in the process? We've
just gotten the architect to start
Thinking about
to get engaged and
Yeah.
start looking at the site, talking with the school, talking with Karen Gilbert. So we're just getting started.
That's that preliminary step, and then we receive a design fee proposal. We evaluate it, make sure it's fair, and then we can put them under an amendment to move forward, and that's when the design technically starts.
just seems that conversation should be had sooner than later.
That's how I'm thinking.
Well, I'm thinking,
We would love for that.
I'm thinking the responsibility lies on us and the district and the administration in terms of determining what goes there, if anything goes there, in light of the growth and Bluffton and what the prospect for building more things. We don't want to put a cake program there that's going to be remapped in 3 years in the referendum.
Correct.
Yeah.
So,
Big picture. So,
I don't know.
Robin, can you just make a note to that we really need to we need to have that conversation.
Maybe we should
so
have a
that-
motion coming out of here to have a conversation about Kate.
Kate at May River.
Yeah.
Okay, I make that motion.
Motion is to have a discussion about Kate and May River.
To ask Ms. Gilbert to, I'm sorry.
No, please.
To present, Kate options for May River.
Is this maybe the full board or just for us?
I think to the full board probably, yeah.
Okay. That's my motion.
Motion to have Kate
Motion by
options presented.
For May River.
And Mr. Campbell, are you seconding?
I did say,
Okay.
All in favor?
I,
Rio.
You want me to, if I can clarify the ESSER funding?
Yep.
All right, what my confusion on the part of what I probably confused things with is ESSER 2 money was used at Willow Branch Middle School. This is, of course, yeah, and this is ESSER 3 money, which is the projects listed. Although our application, there are other locations if there's money remaining where it could be. It's either the DIS, the ECC, Broad River, and Elementary, Bluffton, and Beaufort High. All the locations that were listed.
What I'm mostly interested in is how those decisions get made. You know, if not every school is getting it, and it's not a Hilton Head High thing. It's just how, you know, are we using, what information we're using to figure out who gets by organizations, who gets HVAC, who gets different things.
That would have come through surveys of our maintenance department and our energy manager on what HVAC systems were in the most need of needing to be replaced. Which that's how we did it prior to facilities conditions.
Going forward, we use the FC.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
Just one, Rob, just in terms of Mossy Oaks Elementary, that the amendment,
The slide you're looking at is,
43. So it's what you're anticipating it's going to come in higher than what you even anticipated in the reset version 2, right?
yes, ma'am.
Right? So as a general industry, are we not seeing some relief in some of the building materials or technology and supply chain and accessibility of product? Are we not seeing any kind of relief?
It may be minor, right?
Just minor.
We're anticipating to see that peak come and pass and things start to
Mhm.
get better, but as quickly as it came up,
Yeah,
it's gonna come down like fuel prices, I
Got it.
think, you know, it's not gonna be as fast,
Right.
but,
but since you're, you made this reset was really very recent. So was it?
I can get into the details
So
at
we
exec
plan on-
session, or I'll share them now if you prefer. A lot of this came from some cost analysis that was done during the mid-program reset that based the figure that was included on the fact that the amount of electrical work and primarily not needing an emergency generator, but that was back before the engineer had finished the design. Now that he's finished it, he's figured out there's no way, we've got to put a new generator out there. It's a lot bigger, it's really expensive. And then we've got to redo all of the existing emergency circuits, additional ones, and it just had a ripple effect that it really boiled down to that electrical component piece just came in such higher because of those items, that's what put us into the situation that it exceeded the mid-program reset figure.
Thank you.
you explained already that, rather small annex, or whatever you call it. There's yellow there.
Coming on schedule,
Yeah.
Rob, you want to take that?
Slide.
Those slides, Robin, begin on slide 8, but if you go to 9, there's a note there. That yellow light is all related to the electrical switchgear delivery concerns that I've mentioned previously for a few months. If you go to slide 10, that last bullet point on slide 10 shows a little bit more of the detail behind it, where it has the ship date of our April 13th, but more importantly, the contractor for that project, J.E. Dunn, has already mapped out a workaround plan to utilize temporary generators and temporary HVAC units so that the work can continue to progress. And there, J.E. Dunn's also working with Dominion Power to work out that supplemental service under the temporary power plan. So we believe that we have a good plan to allow this project to move forward while we wait on the delivery of this switchgear and some of this electrical, even HVAC equipment right now. Now we're hearing for HVAC equipment, it's every bit of 30 plus weeks still. And the electrical switchgear, it's over a year.
And this was ordered in February of 2022.
And so we got ahead of it best we could, anticipating that there was some long lead times, but I don't think anyone realized it was that long. But like I said, J.E. Dunn's done a good job to keep us updated, and it's something that we continue to monitor.
Oh, February 22nd?
February 22, and it's coming March.
That's approaching 30.
Right.
Yeah, it's a little
weeks,
more,
right?
13.
Yeah. And that's not gonna wood that that April 13th date don't slip.
Yeah.
And now the page 11,
Yes, sir.
that yellow.
Yeah, that's the yellow light is on a FY 2023 8% capital improvement project to replace the HVAC system in the maintenance building and the warehouse. The proposal came in, it's exceeding the budget. And because we have concerns over these costs in general coming from FY 23, what we wanted to do was let's see how some of these other costs come in. Let's reevaluate what we have available in the first quarter of next year, and fingers crossed that we can bring in a recommendation to award that.
Prioritizing that in terms of need.
Yes.
We prioritized it more that we better take care of needs in the school level before we take care of
That makes sense.
this type of facility.
That take care of all your questions, Mr. Campbell?
Well, yeah, all of that
Such as they are.
precious, yeah.
All right, seeing no other hands, I think we're ready for phase 2.
All right, you ready for the maintenance and cleaning report?
Yes.
I will be doing that today as Brandy Majors is under the weather. I see she's on the Zoom, but hopefully we will not need her for this. So I'm going to start on the maintenance side. As far as introductions, Ed Miller is here with ABM, so he is the director of maintenance. We do start with some pictures of just some projects that they've done recently, one north of Broad, one south of Broad, north of Broad being the Ladies Island Middle School freezer project, where they replaced an indoor or units that were inside the freezer and on the roof, and then a Hilton Head High School flooring repair project as an example of Project South of Broad.
Is this the computer room? I think it
believe
was,
so,
where it
yes.
was like, like that.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was like ripple, like the floor was ripple.
Yes, and that's where you can see they had to take out several sections of it.
Gosh, okay.
The next slide, Robin, is the work order summary, just kind of tracking where we are with work orders and being completed. And the kind of the first thing that jumps out is the increase in the number of work orders. You'll see there that 16,000 is the most to date. And so that's what we're experiencing is an increase in work orders. You also see the completing percentage is one of the lower that we've had today. So it shows that we're having some issues there. An increase in amount and just keeping up. Next slide, Robin, just total work orders per year, and there you see it in a graph format that it's gone close to the highest that we've had, and you're seeing an increase, kind of seeing that COVID dip as teachers were out of the building, and now we're back toward the increase. Total work orders per worker per year, we've seen that's been, as we've increased the number of workers, that has been going down, but now it appears to be kind of at the trough and coming back up, getting as far as the total number of workers. We did increase maintenance by 2 workers this year with COVID funding. Next slide. Total square feet per year, just how are we doing? We increased just by a very small amount as far as square footage based on the Beaufort High addition. And so how that calculates to total square foot per worker, we're holding pretty flat as we have been for the last few years. Any question on those before we go to the survey?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No?
Yeah, total work orders per worker is level off, but at the same time, our completion work order completion rate is much lower. Is that, well, how do you intend to address that?
So, and I'm gonna, I think we're gonna get in a little more detail in that area when we get in the survey. What I would say is that all these numbers of workers is by full staff. As of right now, maintenance has been struggling with staff, and I think we're going to get into a conversation with that. And they're not fully staffed. So these charts are if they had been fully staffed, but when you actually look at actual staff, that's where you would actually probably see this graph go way up if that's what we're looking at. Does that make any sense?
Not to me, but.
Well, if I can.
Understand. I'm thinking you're saying these numbers are hypothetical in terms of workers or.
It's what it should be if you were fully staffed, if you had all the workers.
But you're not fully staffed.
But we are not.
So it's not real.
Right.
Correct. What you're tracking, but really what this is for is to see more. How is our number of workers looking? You know, are we?
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah,
that's what I want it to be. But if you're not fully staffed, then
that's a different.
That ought to show too, so we can respond to.
If we're looking okay, if they had been fully staffed, that's kind of where we are. We have to make sure they have enough staff.
Yeah. I understand that.
We're going to address, as far as not being fully staffed, that's more a question on how does the contractor need to address that, and what are those issues?
Right. Okay. So I want to be able to know which one I'm addressing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Ms. Fidrich?
So I guess, Robert, I would have expected that with all the work that we've been doing in buildings, fixing air conditioners and 8% projects and referendum projects and everything, I wouldn't have expected that our work orders would be at the highest they've ever been. I mean, is that an illogical correlation?
Yeah, and I'll tackle this, Ed, and if you want to add it in, please feel free to. On the air conditioning side, I would say even though you're seeing us do a lot of air conditioning work and it's very expensive,
Yeah.
we're not making headway. I'd say we have more units aging into a critical age than we're replacing. We need to be replacing more. All of our systems are getting older, and a lot of them were probably done, 20 years ago or 25 years ago, and are coming to an age where they're getting critical. So yes, we're doing a lot of work, but are we doing enough? If our AC manager was here, he'd say, no, we need to be doing more. So that's on the AC side. On the other side, the other thing I think we've seen a lot of this year is we've actually, with academic recovery and everything that we're doing, we've increased staff to address these issues. as you increase staff, that causes its whole, there's more moves, there's more needs for that increased staff. So, I would say that's the other side. Ed, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I concur. There's definitely been a lot more moves going on this year. People are starting to be back to their spaces. People are moving offices. Some delays, like in furniture at Ladies Island Elementary School. Bookcases were late and they just got there. They were sitting out in the hallway. Contractor was already gone. So it fell onto maintenance to come take out the old bookcases, put the new bookcases in. Just little things like that. And that takes 4 or 5 guys out for a day or two to just take care of that instead of concentrating on workload. And we're seeing that all those elementary schools got new rugs. One school had 29 rugs and we had to take a team into there, pull all the rugs out of the school, each room, put new rugs in the school, and that takes 2 or 3 guys out of it. So,
So do you have a breakdown of your work orders as far as classify, delineate it per classification? Like this is HVAC work orders, and this is moving furniture, replacing rugs work orders. Do you have a breakdown of how many fall into each category?
it's not an exact science. There are categories, but whether or not it's been followed to the letter or not, because when we get about 22,000 work orders a year, and the school put those in, and we don't always change that category once it gets to it. We try to,
Yeah. But wouldn't that be good data? Because where my thought is going with this is that if you're going to take 5 maintenance workers out of the rotation for 2 or 3, 2 days or 5 days or whatever it might be to lay rugs, and meanwhile you have an AC unit that's not being, I'm just guessing. So in some regards, if you had that data to support it, you could hire an ancillary group to just come in and do that type of work so that your maintenance does not fall behind, correct? But that data would be needed to support that.
Yeah.
Well, I think also piggyback on that, I think it sounds a little bit like you're getting pulled into some of the 8%, like where's the delineation between what a JD Dunn's supposed to do when they close out a project versus ABM's supposed to do? Like you said with bookcases, it sounds like they're sort of picking up some slack from the contractor. Is that accurate?
Yes.
That's exactly. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I see you, Mr. Smith. We'll get you in just a minute.
Yes, in that situation, that's exactly what happened, and try to limit that as much as possible so they can do.
that's not the whole excuse. I'm not saying that's the whole ball of wax. That's
No, but it does.
just to be fair.
And Mr. Smith, I see your hand. I have a couple questions right quick also about this. One question is we give COVID money for 2 additional staff, but we can't hire anybody because there's a well-documented labor shortage. Can they use that money for signing bonuses? Can they use that money for other incentives?
We did not take that.
Right. So.
Well, the answer to that is yes.
Gesture.
So contractually, we're in conversations, their contract is for a set of positions. So they would need to restructure that contract, which we could do to change them around or give different bonuses or things of that nature. So yes, and that's something we're talking about, looking into doing.
But we did that, right? So in order to have these 2 additional FTE full-time, right?
Right, that had been added,
happened.
but to Ed's, they have not filled it and they have not taken or been paid for that.
And that's because you can't find anyone.
Very
So,
tough labor market.
We got that
And
pool of
plus,
money and we got to, going down work order percentage, maybe.
Yes, that's something we are working on right now, is coming up with a plan on how to use that to better organize their group.
Okay, and then just for my own information, why is it important that we keep track of what percentage of the workers are ABM initiated? What does that tell you?
Well, that's something that we definitely want to see, because if I'm a worker out and fixing this table and I trip on the carpet over here, we want them that may not be something I do, but we want them to put in that they're not just walk past it, forget about it, but if they want to put in a work order, but the carpet over there needs to be repaired because I just tripped over it, or something like that. Just when they're out in a school doing some job and they notice something else, we want them to, and so that's a sign that that's occurring.
Okay.
That they're not just passing by.
Because that's dropped precipitously. Well, not precipitously, it's 39 apparently. And then, you know, it's also its lowest. So does that tell you anything? Or just that there's
Now, maybe I'm not, the ABM initiated,
as a percentage?
oh, as a percentage. The number has gone up, but yes, it is gone down.
I just know we were tracking that. Okay, it sounds like it's not that critical of a data.
Well, it is something to take notice of, yes.
Mr. Smith? Mr. Smith, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Some of which I was saying was what I've also have been kind of basically told by different people with some concerns was that we were having custodial staff take up the slack of the. And when you were speaking, that's why I want to speak, because that was my point. Getting to my point was that we had custodial staff doing construction work job, and that's why they couldn't get to some of the work orders. And to me, that's very problematic because that's not why they're there, and that really needs to be a line drawn in the sand in terms of why custodial workers are doing contractors work. They're sitting up there. And they leave trash behind, and they're doing the trash, and so therefore that's pulling them directly away from their work to do someone else's work, and that's why we're behind getting different work orders done.
And just to custodial or maintenance, because we're talking about maintenance right now.
Well, maintenance, custodial, all that's I mean, pretty much all that's pretty much the same, but both of them.
Okay.
I mean, the point we're making, and I think we kind of had that conversation earlier, we'll definitely talk with our project managers and make sure that that's not occurring as much as we can. If
I could.
Well, to me, it's not occurring as much. It shouldn't occur at all because, once again, my point is that there need to be a line driven drawing in the sand where this is with what's in your perimeter, what's in your job, and this is what's in the next person's job. I mean, because, I mean, I'm not sure how other board members, but I would definitely like to see how that's spelled out.
Yeah, Mr. Clark was going to respond, so.
Yeah, I was just going to add a little bit more information on this topic since I'm still here. This is not occurring on a widespread basis. It's more a one-off type of situation, and in those one-off situations, if you look into the detail, the contractor may have already finished up his work and has wrapped things up, and to keep him present on the site would cost additional above and beyond what was originally budgeted because they've got general conditions to keep manpower around, and this is where we try to work a little bit hand in hand with the maintenance department to see, okay, does it make sense to spend the extra money to get the contractor? Is this something there? But it's definitely something that I believe our departments can look at a little closer.
Sounds good. Okay, so.
Well, also, it also just to go back in terms of that, I differ that because the fact that we have air conditioning and mold problems, several schools that our maintenance guys could be dealing with, especially on this side of the broad, versus dealing with those contractor problems. That money comes out of the 8% budget, so therefore those jobs should be strictly dealt with, from my understanding, out of that budget. So to me, though, that is a huge problem because you're paying people out of different parts that they shouldn't be, because we're using manpower in places that we shouldn't be. I mean, so to me, that is very problematic. There's nothing that we should skip over because, at some degree, it needs to be handled when you have parents and stop calling and saying that their kids are in hot buildings and hot schools because they don't have the correct air conditioning because maintenance can't get over there to even to deal with it. So those are big issues that that elephants that must be addressed, and those are things that must be taken care of, and not just be put a Band-Aid on.
Right, and I think what I'm hearing from Mr. Corbin is that they will look at that, take a look, and then maybe you can follow up with us at the next meeting if there's anything that comes out of that. Because I agree that that's something that shouldn't happen. All right, so we're on to the maintenance. Are we going to the maintenance survey now? Is that the next?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, the maintenance customer service responsiveness. I mean, there's no good way or way to avoid it, but this is some of the worst scores maintenance has gotten in this category since we've been tracking it. You see that we pretty much usually are above even a 3.5, and now you're seeing some scores that are even below a 3.0. So I would say this is an area of concern.
So, Mr. Miller, did you want to talk about that first or take questions?
I can talk about it a little bit. Like Robert said, a lot of it has to do, I think, with our losing good people and being short-staffed, making the others overwork, feeling the pressure anyway. We were pretty immune to labor issues up until just the last few months, and then it seems like it all hit us really hard. So dealt with my upper management, and we're sourcing, trying to fill these positions aggressively and make corrections. The guys are working overtime and just trying to make up ground until we do get these positions filled.
Okay.
We do take it seriously. This not meeting expectations is not the right thing to do.
Your question?
So, Mr. Miller, what are you hearing from those that are leaving? I mean, is it compensation based? And so you've had those discussions?
Compensation based.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. There's just a lot of mobility in the trades right now.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And
so you
people are
are,
taking that opportunity. We've been increasing the wages.
you have increased with wages.
Yeah.
Are you able to do that with the contract? Because the contract was signed when?
We are in year 3, I believe, of the contract.
Is that a fairly limiting factor in terms of being competitive with some labor?
Yes, and that is one of the reasons we're kind of talking about looking at what they need to do as far as reorganizing their contract.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And where are they going? Are they leaving the area? Is it a
I lost
housing?
2
Or?
managers, and they were able to use their experience and upgrade their position significantly.
But stay here locally?
Yeah. And, going to work for the base or for outside contractors, and, they gained a lot of knowledge working here, so that shows on the resume.
So how is your upper management responding to you?
We're paying what it takes to get people in. So we just hired a new HVAC manager. He's going to start the 31st.
Okay.
We lost one north of the broad manager. We're promoting from within. We have a supervisor that's been with us for almost 15 years, I think, with the district. And we're promoting him. He's well known, got a good head on his shoulders. I think he'd be a good team leader.
Mm-hmm.
So just keep aggressively doing that.
I don't believe our compensation analysis looks at things like maintenance workers.
No. That's
No, because it's a contractor.
Do you guys do your own internal sort of assessment?
Yes. Do you want to talk on that? I know we did meet and had a review with ABM management last week. And that's one of the things they were talking about is how they were doing salary studies and looking at the different positions in the area and what it was going to take to fill those positions.
And that's all part of your contract discussion?
Yes, we talk about, because they are contractually held to positions and the cost, obviously. So we're having them look at that and come back to us with a proposal on what it would take to fill those positions, or what do we need where we're.
Because the environment's way different than 3 years ago.
Yes.
way different, but still, this is not acceptable.
No.
It's not acceptable at all, and, you know, just so much of the data that's enclosed in here this time, is, you know, like, we're working so hard at getting our buildings and facilities up to, in, you know, the climate that we want, and so we just can't have this, and so I'm glad you're having those discussions.
We have some money, you know, somewhere. All this is, okay, Mr. Campbell, do you have any questions?
Well, yeah, and just conversation. Is there anything in place to build the morale of the employees? As, I mean, to be centered around anything from building to building, incentives or hourly, you know, our on the job. Is there any incentive for passing the inspections, supervisory inspections, for example? So I'm looking here and I'm seeing where from, you know, August of last year, surveys show kind of a disappointment in terms of the cleanliness of the building.
Now, cleanliness.
Maintenance survey. Yeah. Maintenance survey. So. Maintenance.
So as far as, well, incentives, you want to talk about any incentives y'all have for employees for morale? I will say, I mean, I do know that the work guys know they're not doing their work orders as well as they've done in the past, and it does beat them down. I mean, that is hard for a lot of these guys, so.
Yeah, they see the workload and being short-staffed, that does affect morale. And then bringing that back up will help. Also, bringing in somebody from within and raising them up to a manager position. I'm hoping that helps morale, seeing that there is movement internally. We aren't always bringing somebody from the outside. And that helps. But yes, we need to do more as far as appreciating the guys. I've heard them say, well, we were the essential workers during COVID, and we were working when other people were sitting home collecting a paycheck.
Yeah.
We were working and collecting paychecks.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the point. So.
And so we're working through that. I think that affects them more than a lot of people realize. You know,
Yeah,
I was appreciative of being able to work and not sitting home and doing nothing, but other people see it differently.
Yeah, same thing's going on in healthcare. Mr. Smith?
Yeah, I hear what y'all are saying, but it's beyond some of that. You know, my question is, you know, the company got a bonus and the workers found out about it too. And that's why, for myself, some of them were frustrated too, because not only were they weren't just saying that we were the workers and we were sitting home during these, and we was the essential workers and people were just sitting home. No, they were saying that the district employees got bonuses and they wanted to know where was their bonus at, or where was their appreciation at in forms of increase of pay. In that, from my understanding as a board member, I understand that we were giving the company bonuses that for having essential workers there, and that the workers were not getting paid essential pay. So
Okay, let's let Mr. Miller respond to that. Mr. Miller, did you say, he said the company received a bonus from the district? Is that what you're saying, Mr. Smith?
yes.
Is that true?
Not that I'm aware of.
So I think what Mr. Smith is referring to is some of the increases with COVID funding. Maintenance did get increased by 2 positions. They have not been able to fill them. They have not been paid for them. So they've gotten no additional funding. Maintenance has had 0 additional funding because of COVID. So there is no bonus.
So the company did not receive any
No,
additional?
they have not gotten 0 cents extra.
But your point, Mr. Smith, with regards to the district employees is well taken. Oh, the PCs, but hold on just a
I don't
second.
know what we need to do before it shuts down. Just hit okay. Yeah. Good choice. I would have chosen okay, shut it down.
So just to be so to be clear, maintenance or construction, I mean maintenance or ABM in terms of custodians are none of those people got a bonus or got an increase.
So we're gonna talk about custodial in a second. Right now, we're talking about maintenance, and maintenance did not get any increase due to COVID.
Okay.
And so then the question I would ask too, at any point in time, could they not come back to the district and ask the district for more money that they may need to put people on the job under the contracts?
That's what we're talking about, Mr.
Yes.
Smith, with the earlier. We're talking about they are in negotiations or in some sort of a process looking at how to increase maintenance worker pay to try and deal with the labor shortage.
And we'll bring that back to.
And they're gonna bring that back.
Yeah, once that is, figured out.
Okay, so I just wanted to make clear that there was not a bonus paid to the company that didn't somehow trickle down to the workers. Okay, if that, Ms. Fidrich, Mr. Campbell, you guys are good?
Yeah.
Okay, we can move on to custodial. Mr. Miller, thank you. We'll look forward to hearing something back from you here in a little bit and work something out because we recognize that there's a labor shortage and that those are hardworking folks. I have to say, on a personal note, I hear nothing but compliments about, but what people say is, I can't remember the guy's name that works, that everyone loves him, but they know he's got more work than he can do. So hopefully we can solve that problem. On to custodial.
We'll move on to custodial. And I guess we'll introduce HES, or Hvac, you wanna?
Tonight we have given HES, myself, Curtis Bennett, the senior regional manager. We have Scott Zimmerman, the regional senior vice president for custodial. And then we have Ed Pullen, the district manager in the Beaufort market. And on the line, we've got on Zoom, Philip Gilbert, which is our HR vice president.
So let me just start, and then as questions come up, we'll let y'all take over the questions. So we'll start with just, first off, pictures of some awards, and actually the one there on the far left is the superintendent's token that he gave to one of the HES employees for returning a wallet that was found in the parking lot at May River. Some others, I believe, are some employee of the month type of awards that are going on. The second slide are some pretty pictures of clean floors that have just been finished up after the summer clean, after all that work was done. And after that, I'm going to get down into the surveys. Now, if y'all may remember, there were some concerns with custodial last time. We had some issues. Scores were falling. I'm happy to report that we're seeing an improvement in a lot of the areas. We still have room to go, but there are signs of improvement, which is good. You start with the customer service and responsiveness. You'll see for the most part, they're about a mixed bag. They're either flat, a couple went down, and a couple actually improved. But all of them are headed towards that 3.0. See, the cleanliness of your school is lower than we'd like, but it's a great improvement from the last two times. I will go on to, I'll just go through the surveys real quick if I can, and then we'll ask questions about it if that's all right. So the next slide is entrance and hallways. Again, either even or improvements. Only one, dusting, which seems to be a constant struggle, was dropping down almost to 2.5. The next slide, custodial admin and other offices, pretty close to where they've been in the past, with a little bit of a slight decline on, again, dusting. Classrooms, looking at either even or an improvement in a couple areas like the floor care and restrooms, so that's good to see. The next two are actually media centers and gym, or where it's either even or going into decline on average. So looks like there can be some improvement done in the media centers. And then as you go over to gyms, you're seeing the same kind of thing, a little bit of a decline. in the cleanliness of the areas. And then cafeteria, you're seeing improvement from previous surveys in the cafeteria areas, so that's good to see. And the last slide just talks about some of the things we're doing as far as we've gone back, as we reported last time, doing our monthly walkthroughs with district staff and maintenance and custodial workers, and then meeting with administration. We've been pushing pretty hard for both maintenance and custodial. I think we got most of them going to meet regularly with the school administration. The recommendation is high schools to meet weekly, middle schools bi-weekly, and elementary at least once a month. And there was the one maintenance work order response card that was received, because there was a question whether they were doing those. That kind of needs to be in the maintenance section. So with that, I'll stop, and they're here to answer your questions and
I guess
any questions you have.
Before we ask the questions, I would just like to say the previous meeting that we had, or the last meeting that we had, operation meeting that we had, there were certain items that you wanted us to come back with you regarding some data to support that. Ed Pullen, the district manager, has a copy that he can hand you out that actually provides some details of those items, as well as talk you through it, but not necessarily read it to you, but more or less talk through the highlights of that report or that data. And then that will generate some questions where we can be very specific to, as well as, and then we'll definitely open the floor for any additional questions. Again, we've got Philip Gilbert on the on Zoom that can answer any HR or benefit 401k type of issues or concerns or questions. Ed, you want to just go ahead and hit the highlights of the report?
Yeah. So we did a 5-question survey across the district. 5 basic tools help us understand basically satisfaction of the employees in the district. First one, do they have the tools and supplies properly to do your job? We had 77%. Yes, we do. I'd like to see that number a little bit higher, and that's one of my focuses now coming to the district. Do you feel like you are part of the overall school family? 85% said yes.
That's a good.
I'm very happy with that number. Do you feel comfortable going to your supervisor with problems? 85.4% said yes. Out of 171 people who returned their surveys, it was question 2 and 3 were almost identical. Do you feel like you need additional training to do your job effectively? 88.3, our best score was, they said no, they are good. There was a lot of comments on these, very productive comments from the employees. Accumulated those and tried to work toward, because they're all anonymous. We're going to try to institute a lot of those across the district, make some clarifications, put out some postings for the folks. And the last question, do you feel like you're fairly compensated for the job you do? Unfortunately, 67% said no. And that's unfortunate, but we almost expected it. We do, people should better themselves, and we weren't expecting, 100%, yes, we think we have a great pay. But we've got some wage data here from when we started to where we currently are. This is as of October 1st. When we started 23 months ago, we were at $10.82.
Is that the starting salary?
That's our average across the district. We were at $10.82. That is what they were making as a group combined. That's collectively an average. Now they're, as a group, the average wage rate is $13.78. So we've increased over the last 23 months, almost $3 in average rate of pay across the group.
That's about 30%.
27.4.
Oh, you already did it. Just getting Mel's approval. I've done research up to the right in the boxes. We've got some basic statistics that I was able to pull from internets or other sources. You can find varying data from the different sources. I just tried to find an average mean of
when I was finding out there. So based on the, Bureau of Labor Statistics, last year in May, the average rate of pay was $14.31. That was a year ago, and that was a little over a year ago, and that's the latest information that's on that website.
I think anecdotally, if you go around the area, it's 15.
Yeah, I stopped at the Parker's gas station on the way up here. Starting wage rate $14.50. Starting cashier behind the counter.
And your average is 13.
Mhm.
So.
And if they worked at night, they got $15.50. It's $1 increase at Parker's. And that was just me stopping to get a bottle.
So do you by chance have your median hourly wage? Because this says you're comparing a mean to a median. So this, the median here is 41. And so when you do an average,
You're
got a higher.
about $15 is the average across the country.
And she's talking about.
Your median,
Oh,
not your average, not your mean, your median, only because, when you do averages, you got that high paying person and that brings that average right up. But if you do the median, it shows you what is that, kind of right there in the middle.
yeah, I didn't write
Okay.
that because we actually have, we've got about an equal amount of staff across the board. So, yeah, I can pull it.
That's okay, but I mean.
Probably gonna be similar. though.
It'll be-
But we'll get it to you, yeah.
Okay, so you don't have a lot of entry level, is what you're saying, you have is that what
We
you
have a
just-
good mixture.
Okay,
80% of our staff has been here over 6 months. 70% of our staff's been here over a year.
okay.
So most of them are in the higher wage.
But what we find is that the same positions continue to turn over. We're trying to identify exactly why that is. Usually it's they're probably at the same school, they're probably the same position that turns over. Because as he said, 70 to 80% of our people have been here over a year, 6 months to a year or more. So that means that other 20% is ones that's constantly turning over for whatever reason. And that's what we've got to isolate to make sure that we get that addressed as far as exactly why is this happening at these same places over and over again.
That's not uncommon within our company, either other companies I work for, a turn like that. And you'll see down here where our overall is 60%. That's kind of misleading because if we had a school with 10 employees, 8 of them worked there all year, but we turned 2 of them over, 3 times, 60% turnover rate. But in reality, we've kept the vast majority of them for the longest time. So
We still have 50% of the original staff when we started from 23 months. And I have that data down here in the tenure. We have a 12% continued rotation of 90 days or less.
on that box.
All of those comments requires some follow-up thought in my mind, because if you got a constant staff and you have turnover rates which the same people which appears to be entry-level people, then certainly your median score and your mean score should be a much higher level. So is that something that you guys are taking from this or no? Because your staff is fairly constant the way it's talking.
Mm-hmm.
And their pay should be almost at its max in terms of what the industry pays. And if entry-level people are leaving, they're not affecting you. They're not affecting anything if they're entry-level people, except because they're the same people leaving all the time, and at entry-level, things are changing the numbers.
We would absolutely love to bring people in at 15. I mean, our managers would love it. Your school personnel would love it. I don't know about the finance team at the district, because there is a finite amount of money we're working with, and we're working with your money.
Right.
So we've got to really balance this. We've had wage increases, supply increases. Paper's going up October 1st, 18%. When I said paper, toilet paper, hand towels, 18%. They don't ask us if it's all right. They just say it, so we don't have the luxury of doing that to you guys, saying, hey, our price is going up. We're going to,
You do
our
have
invoice is going
you
up.
do have the luxury of of offering the contract and not offering the contract.
Yeah.
That is a luxury that you have. But yeah, I'm concerned with, with the competitiveness that you're showing us, and I'm sure you're concerned with it.
Now, it has slowed down a little bit. We're finding we're getting more people in the door. It was hard. I don't know which month it was, Curtis, but we couldn't even get people to apply for these jobs. So that was burning out managers because, we were running into lots of overtime, which is just a budget buster too, because we don't plan for that. So it affects us all. I mean, we would love to increase our wages, and I think they're sustainable right now, but we're still going to have some churn. I don't know. Well, actually, no matter what you paid, I think you'll still have some churn in the entry level.
Lots of opportunities.
Well, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how many, are you short staffed at all? Like we just heard from maintenance,
We're about 95%.
95, how many employees? This is out of 206. How
Yeah,
many?
we are now currently running at 212.
And 212 is 95%.
Employee count really doesn't count because we've got, based on FTEs,
Yeah.
some of them have part-timers and all that. So
Okay.
employee count's a very hard number to tackle. So I may hire an 8-hour person that replaces 2 or 4.
Oh, got it.
So
Okay.
employee count fluctuates quite a bit.
In our world, 95% is full employment.
Yeah, that's
In my book, I mean, that's 10% is more probably like it across the board in
Mhm.
our company and others.
Last week, I think I was overstaffed by 1 FTE, but this week I'm short 7 FTEs, and it fluctuates. Now we've hired 2 people this week already, so those numbers change, right? And we have, so we make moves and adjustments. So it really fluctuates a lot depending on the week, our needs, that kind of stuff. But it changes, and managing those changes is where my managers really have to know their buildings, know the people, and have everybody rowing in the same direction. So having happy people really makes our job a lot easier because they're more willing to help and assist and cover for needs as they arise.
I think Ed and Curtis now have a very motivated management team now that has a great attitude, and they're really out there trying to make a difference. And coming out of the COVID and stuff, everybody's just kind of worn out and drained and depressed, whatever you want to call it, even our frontline custodians. So it was a real tough adjustment this last year, just getting people back into the flow of everyday school, because it wasn't, as you know, it just wasn't normal for so long.
And I would add that, Mr. Campbell actually made a valid point regarding that wage. The people that's been here will probably make more than the first person that we bring in that entry level position. So is our entry level paid enough to keep that person on board? Maybe it's not, or maybe it is, but that's something that we need to look at, because, I might just, if you offer me $11, I might just take the job because that's all I got right at the moment. But as soon as somebody coming off me 12 or 13, I'm out the door.
And our wage rates will lose somebody over 25 cents, right? So that's how volatile our wage rate can be at times. So it's
I have my hand up too.
We know. I have a couple questions real quick.
Okay. I'm waiting you to do that.
The one thing that I noticed was that I thought was, something that could be addressed that was a downturn was the courtesy level of custodial district managers. Poor guys gotten called out by name, but that's gone down quite a bit. And that, to me, there are variables you can't control, but some of the courtesy level issues, how's that being addressed?
It doesn't even work here.
This is a new concession.
I don't think I saw it.
And that may be why they haven't, they might never saw it because he wasn't here.
Yeah.
And I'm here now, so hopefully I'll be able to
That's a
meet
step
everybody.
forward right there.
Well, to be fair, he was very overwhelmed with things, and it wasn't working out. So I'd worked with Ed in past companies for years, and I knew his personality, and I knew what he could do. So we moved him down from Ohio just for Beaufort County Schools.
And I was glad to come here. Look, I lived in North Carolina for 22 years and moved to Ohio because of this guy, and he finally brought me back. So glad to be.
And one more question, and Mr. Earl Campbell had mentioned this as well. you guys don't offer any kind of benefits, right? It's strictly a salary. There's not health care, 401k.
Yes,
There's
it is.
health care. Okay.
Yes.
401k.
Philip Gilbert, do you want to chime in on that?
Yeah, we offer, health benefits, dental, vision, medical plus 401k offering after they've been here a year. We just roll that out and communicate on that.
401k after a year, but health benefits a day of hire.
No, health benefits begin the first of the month following 60 days. They get to enroll in that. And we just redid all of our health benefits too. It started effective July 1st. Every year we're trying to, as we grow, we're trying to make sure that we've got to have good benefits to attract people and retain them. So we're trying to make sure as we grow, put that money towards health benefits. That's one of our CEOs and CFOs and my responsibility to make sure we're doing that to help the team out there.
Do you guys match the 401k? I know Mr. Campbell was asking, Earl Campbell was asking.
It's a discretionary 401k. It is not what's called a safe harbor because you got to have discrimination testing in there. So there could be a match, and I think I talked about it last time. It's discretionary, and it's a lump sum match. Like we could go up to 5% of let's say people put in $1 million in that year. And if we did 5%, if the company does well, then we could take 50,000, say we're going to distribute it over all the participants. And the way that would work would be so if we took that 50,000, then that's multiplied by so if the employee made $30,000 and the people all in the plan is divided by their total salary is $500, then they would probably get a $2,200 lump sum distribution for that one time. Does that make sense? So
That's more about. That sounds good. Okay. Mr. Smith has been patiently waiting. Mr. Smith?
So my first question is the same as the last. Have this company been paid any bonuses?
So, it's not termed bonuses, but there were some increases due to COVID that custodial did receive. We did add workers as far as for touch points at yeah. And I'm trying to think what other.
It was day porters actually, elementary, we had additional day porters, and touch point cleaning. But as far as anything that would be characterized as a bonus, that never happened.
No.
No.
So the additional money that y'all got was not for a bonus?
No, sir, it was not.
No, there was not a bonus pay of any kind.
No.
Okay, that's the only question I wanted to answer. That's the first question. The second question is in terms of the pay. But let me go back. Let me back up. And in terms of the questionnaire that y'all sent out, who did that questionnaire, and how did that? Who, where, when, why, and how does that work?
You mean the survey that was done to employees?
Yes, the survey, questionnaire survey, all
We printed them out in English and Spanish, and we sent them out to the schools through the managers. And the managers, now they were instructed to leave them because they're supposed to be anonymous. No names were put on these, no schools, no locations, and they were to collect them. Over the next couple of days, they were instructed to tell them when they were coming back to collect the surveys. That's why we didn't get them all back, because I'm pretty sure some people didn't complete them. But the surveys were completed by the three of us here, plus Philip we consulted, we got HR's input as to if these questions were adequate to ask. And then I've been collecting them since Monday. All the managers have been bringing them back to me Monday.
We tried to hit on things custodians complain about: supplies, equipment, their managers being overly tough on them, or we don't get support, or we don't feel like we're part of the school. So we just hit on the high points of usually what we hear about.
Okay. Mr. Campbell, you have a question?
Well, I don't question, comment.
Go ahead, Mr. Campbell.
Question, comment. What do you do to the phase in the administration and school personnel and the climate and culture as of your custodians. You know, I suspect that they'd be happy if the people they're working with and around are happy about what they do. And is there communication? Is there building of morale, some type of, connectivity between those people, not just your manager and the custodian, but those people that they're working with and themselves. And, who's monitoring that? Because that, alone could affect the attitude of the custodian. Just the fact that they're loved and they want to be there. I might not want that 50 cents, but the fact that I'm a man in this building, these people is important to me.
That's why, I was happy to see the 85%. And they felt like they're part of the group. A lot of our day porters, they are in the buildings when they're fully staffed. A lot of our night staff, they don't have a lot of interaction with the faculty, the staff, and a lot of times they're typically trying to avoid those people so they can do their jobs, right? So it's not taking them longer to do what they're trying to do. We also try to work with their schedule so they can get to where people aren't, right? But no, I agree. Everybody in the building should have, they should know who the people are, right? These are hopefully some of the initiatives I'll be bringing forward. I'd like to get pictures of our cleaning staff, I'd like to put them in prominent places to where people know who
Names
they
are
are,
important.
right?
Names are important. Who want to know
Everybody
who that guy is?
Everybody should have their own janitor closet, maybe on the outside, have like a picture, kind of their name,
Yes.
information about them so that people
Good.
will know who they are.
Some systems once a quarter at a teachers meeting, or they'll bring in the evening custodians. It doesn't work everywhere, but we try it in places. And that's a good idea, but it doesn't work in every single school.
And it works for the administrators too, in terms of highlighting that custodian once in a while at a faculty meeting or something like that.
When we did I got lucky. I got here just in time for the month awards, and at Beaufort Elementary, we're able to we're giving the gentleman his award, and it's like, hey, we need to get the faculty involved. This is a big deal for us. It's a big deal for him. The gentleman's son went to school there, and they brought the kid over, and so it was a big moment. It was great. Everybody had a good time. All the faculty want to be involved, and that's one of the things that I talk to all my managers when we do Employee of the Month. So we want to let the school know if their person has been selected, when we're going to present the awards. If anybody wants to be there, they can be involved and thank them. So those are things we're trying to drive.
I would encourage them to announce that, at least if they can't be there, announce it on the intercom or something.
Yeah.
Because it gives them a little buy-in, but also it gives them the step that you probably won't be able to take to talk to that custodian and get him to do some things from a different perspective, Yeah.
One idea we've used in the past, and I don't know the politics of your board or the time constraints. Once a quarter, we bring our employees of the month in, kind of like y'all's recognition for students, and just recognize them in front of the board. Some of them are nervous as can be, and that's a big deal to them. So that's just a consideration.
Well, it sounds like you guys have some good initiatives that are coming down for employee morale.
Very good.
And much of that we've been doing, I think with they on board now, we'll do a better job of publicizing. There was more between us and the schools, but it needs to be more where others know about what's going on and what we're doing that's good for our people.
We're trying not to be as reactionary now, and let's manage this program the way we want it. And I think employees are more willing now, because it used to be, a year ago or 6 months ago is, I'm going to work the hours I want to work. What are you going to do about it? And we cannot manage a program like that. So, but there was attitudes out there like that, and we're going to be as gentle as we can about it, but that's not the way we can conduct business. It's not fair to other employees.
So I think, for both companies here, it sounds like we're gonna see you guys again in 6 months, or at least Mr. Bennett and Mr. Miller in
Oh,
6
so I
months.
just moved down here.
No, I'm just saying, I don't think the whole team comes every time, but we'll see you guys in 6 months. And, you know, I think it's really great to tell the board about some of the initiatives you're doing, because we all recognize the staff shortages and some of the troubles. We also recognize that the board has, you know, we have to hold people accountable for clean and functional schools. So,
Absolutely.
Chance.
sorry, Mr. Smith, what?
I still have some more questions when you get a chance.
Okay, yeah, because we need to wrap this up, but go ahead, Mr. Smith.
In terms also to speak to some of the points that Mr. Campbell was saying, how are administrators also bearing to say that they don't want certain custodials in buildings as well?
Okay.
They have the authority to say that, but can you give me, I'm not sure what you're referring to.
The question it's a specific question, and the questions are administrators saying that they don't want, or have there been any situations where administrators say that they don't want certain custodial workers in schools?
Not that I'm aware of.
We have them all over the country too, Mr. Smith, is that you could have a situation where something happens with a custodial and a principal or whoever, and if they say to remove them from the school, we'll remove them from the school. Now, we want to know what happened first, you know, from an HR side, so we can deal with it. I'm dealing with an issue where I'm at right now at one of our school districts here in Florida. So, you know, you could have that to where we have a principal saying they want somebody removed from the school because of behavioral issues. So if we have that, we address those issues too. And we try to make sure we keep Beaufort County or any customer we have around the country out of it, so there's no co-employment issue. But yes, they do have that if they did want to come forward and have us to remove somebody.
Did you have another question, Mr. Smith?
Yeah, and my question was too also in terms of the survey. How many people that he said, maybe I missed it, how many people he said that completed that survey?
171 out of 206. We had an 83% response rate.
Did you hear that? 176 out of 212 with an 83%.
171 out of 206 with an 83% response rate.
Which I thought was pretty good.
Okay, is there anything else, Mr. Smith?
No, I'll just go ahead and leave it there. But I do have strong concerns in terms of this, but I'll just leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. All right, so we'll see you guys in 6 months, and hopefully we'll get the bars getting the other way.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it, and we're awfully glad that you chose us over Ohio.
Oh, trust me, I was glad.
Thank you all.
Yeah, well, good. It sounds like there's real energy behind this, and that you guys are going to see some momentum.
You know, hopefully we can make some huge improvements in the short run.
Thank you, so nice to meet you.
All right, so the only thing we have left on our agenda
Thank you, sir.
is future topics, right? As I struggle to carry on with the meeting. So future topics. And I have one, but you guys have any first? Any future topics? Okay. I want to talk about principal requests. In light of the FCS, I'd like to have a discussion about principal requests, particularly with the 8% projects.
And we're about to put that out, so we'll hold off.
Pause for the November meeting.
Okay.
It's hard to hear. So
So I'd like to have a future topic meeting in November about principal requests.
principal request, got it.
Also, where are we with the Go property? Right, Lobico
I'd have
property?
to ask Wendy, you talking about a contract with the county or?
Are they buying it from, I mean, so.
They've
I mean,
shown
so
an interest, they've had an interest in purchasing it, but
Right.
we can,
That seems to be languishing,
okay.
right?
Quick question. Can Mrs. Boatwright, can she elaborate when she said the principal's request in terms of?
Oh, for the 8% funding?
Okay, so you're basically saying that you want something in writing about what the principals are requesting?
I want a discussion in light of the FCA about how we handle principal requests for 8% funding. So it's more of a desire to have a conversation.
What's our procedures and how we do it?
Correct.
Right.
Yep. And
The only other, Beaufort Jasper Water and Sewer was not able to make this meeting, but they said they will be ready for the November meeting.
Mr. Smith, they're going to have a talk, they're going to answer your question about blanket easements at that time.
Yes.
In
And
November.
I have a request for Joseph.
Yep. So we'll have easements, we'll have Lovico property, we'll have principal's request, and we'll have a construction as of right now. All right.
That's a lot.
Mel, did you have any other future topic requests for operations?
No, really, no.
All right, good. Well,
Do you want to do
For operations, I think there is a future topic for the security on the OE is due. So I think it would be coming in November.
okay.
And
HR,
the HR's annual report is due in November.
but I think that should be a separate meeting, don't you reckon?
Right, but
Yeah.
that usually comes in November as well.
Yeah, I saw that.
Want to do the July 28th meeting minutes?
Oh, yeah, because Mel's here. So she abstained from the meeting. Okay. Would you like to make a motion to approve the July 28th meeting minutes?
I make a motion that we approve July 28th, 2022 minutes.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All abstaining?
I abstain.
The motion
So
passes.
at least that's completed.
That's a good idea. I thought you were saying like, do we want to add to future topics? I'm like, no. All right, so I think that concludes the business before this committee. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn by Mel. By consent, we're out of here.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.